Welcome to Eduimagica, the medical mystery education hub. Today we will look into the musculoskeletal system and we will talk about the basics and overview of musculoskeletal system. The musculoskeletal system. This system consists of the muscular and the skeletal system, and together they both give us the ability to move. Now let's take a deeper look into the skeletal system. The parts of the skeletal system are as follows. It includes bones, which forms the skeleton, joints, cartilage, ligaments and tendons. The skeletal system is divided into two parts. We have the axial skeleton and we have the appendicular skeleton. Now let's take a deeper look into the axial and the appendicular skeleton. Here we will see the number of bones involved in both of them. Now let's first talk about the axial skeleton. It includes skull, which comprises of 22 bones. It includes the cranium and the facial bones. Then we have the ear ossicles that are 6 in number. We have a singular hyoid bone. Then we have the rib cage. The rib cage includes the ribs and the sternum. The ribs are 12 pairs or 24 in number, and we have a singular sternum. Then we have the vertebral column that are 26 to 33 in number. Now let's take a deeper look into the appendicular skeletal system. It includes the forelimb, hind limb and the pelvic girdle. We have the clavicle, scapula, humerus, radius, ulna, carpals, metacarpals, phalanges. And we have the pelvic girdle, the femur, we have the patella, tibia, fibula, we have the tarsals, metatarsals and phalanges as well. This was all about the axial and the appendicular skeleton. Now, the skeletal system provides support to the body and allows movement as well as creating structures to protect soft tissue or organs. For example, the rib cage protects the heart and lungs. If you have not subscribed us yet, then please do hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification. Now let's talk about the type of bones. Here we have the flat bone, for example the sternum. We have the irregular bone, for example the vertebrae. We have the long bone, for example femur. We have the sesamoid bone, for example patella. And we have the short bones, for example the cuneiform. Now let's talk about the typical structure of a long bone. In this, at the proximal and the distal end we have the epiphysis. At the center we have the diaphysis or the shaft, and between them we have the metaphysis. The bones of the skeleton comes together at places known as joints. There are different types of joints, each providing different level of mobility. Sutures, for example, are non-movable joint present between the bones of skull and they provides no mobility. Other joints, however, such as ball and socket joints found in the hip and shoulder provides lots of mobility as these bones can rotate in multiple planes. Hinge joint for those such as knee and elbow can bend in one plane but cannot rotate. And piper joints such as those found in neck allows rotation but in limited plane. Then we have the saddle joint between the carpals and metacarpals. We have the condylate joint between the radius and carpal. And we have the plane joint between the tarsals. The bones of the movable joints are held together by type of connective tissue known as ligaments. Other type of connective tissue involved in skeletal system are tendons. Tendons are responsible for attaching muscle to bone. And we have cartilage which provides cushioning at many joints. Now let's talk about the muscular system. The muscular system consists of three types of muscle tissue: smooth, cardiac and skeletal. Skeletal muscles are connected to bone via tendons. Now let's talk about the typical structure of skeletal muscles. The muscle composed of number of fasciculi, and this fascicle consists of number of muscle fiber. And the muscle fiber or muscle cell, we have the neuromuscular junctions that are formed by the nerves involved in them or present in them. It also includes muscle cell nuclei and the capillaries. And the outermost covering of the muscle is epimysium. The covering of the fascicle is perimysium, and the innermost covering of the muscle fiber is the endomysium. And here we also have presence of nerve axon. We also have presence of the nerve axon branch. We have the transverse tubule, sarcoplasmic reticulum, sarcomere, which includes the actin and the myosin filament. Then let's talk about the functions of the skeletal muscles. It provides the voluntary movement, joint stabilization, it protects the organs, and maintains posture. Cardiac muscle forms the structure of heart and allows the heart to contract and thus pump the blood through the body. Smooth muscles lines the vessels of the circulatory system and the organs of digestive system. So how exactly the skeletal muscles contract, resulting in movement of the bone? Well, skeletal muscle fibers contains thick filament of myosin alternating with the thin filament of actin. A nerve signal to muscle causes the calcium ions to be released. These ions bind to protein associated with the actin filament, exposing the active sites. Parts of the myosin structure can now interact with the active site of actin, thus pulling the actin filament that results in the contraction of muscle. As muscle shortens, it pulls the tendons, which pulls on the bone. This process occurs repeatedly until the nerve signals stops. We will look into detail about the muscle contraction in upcoming videos. Muscle can only pull on bone, not push, and so in the order to a bone to move back the other way, different muscle must contract while the original muscle must relax. This was all about the musculoskeletal system. Thank you for watching our video on the introduction to musculoskeletal system. In the upcoming video, we will talk about the contraction of the muscle.